Okay guys, welcome back. As I said a couple of weeks ago when I had a quick look at the Unreal Tournament map that I made of the Laser Quest arena from Tunbridge Wells that I made years ago. I just wanted to see basically just have a quick look at Unreal Ed. Let's not waste too much time mumbling. What I have done today is exactly what I would have done back in the day, and that's have a quick look at Disc 2 from the 2-disc edition of Unreal Tournament 2004. Okay, so that's what I've done. And I'll show you the tutorial I jumped into, mainly because it was good fun doing it with Duke Build. What can I remember? So I'm going to quickly go into video training modules, just to stop the music there. Because that wasn't even on screen, was it? Sorry, I just launched the disc. So that's where that music was coming from. Yeah, with the Duke build, you know, it was good fun, but it's not compelling watching me go, oh, which button was it? So with this one, I've sort of jumped in today and gone, well, what would I have done back in the day? What I would have done back in the day was jump into this, which is disc 2 off the 2 DVD set, or the Editor's Choice edition. And in here you've got the video training modules, which is what I just jumped into to stop the music from running. And under training modules, for some reason it launches in IE, even though that is no way my default browser on this machine. But anyway, and I quickly just jumped into Level Design 1. This is all I had a look at today. Back in the day, I went through all of these, and I had a quick look at, Level Design 101. And then I briefly looked at Introduction, but then I jumped into First Level. And it's quite funny watching something like this. I'm sure you can find these on YouTube now, so have a look. I won't find them for you. But have a quick listen.
Buttons, and you can pan the camera around.
All right, excellent. Well, that's good enough. If they want to know more, they can go to the next.
No idea who these people are. I should probably look them up and see what they look like. But it's just two people bouncing off each other, and it works quite well. It's not as short and sharp as we're used to these days, I don't think, you know. But at the end of the day,
now starting out right now,
let's have a quick look.
Left click on the construction.
How to create a room.
That's pretty important. Could have
How to
also
change
hit
the size of your
Control S on
brushes.
the keyboard as well, which is just a shortcut key.
You could use Shift B if you want to.
How to apply your textures.
There you go.
And it goes into how to apply lighting and weapons and stuff like that. So that's all I've had a look at, just to have a look. And then, well, let's jump in. And what I'll do is I'll quickly, basically, what is that? Oh, okay. I'll basically, because I'm never in IE. I'll basically sort of recreate a similar room to what I did in the Duke build one. Nothing fancy, fairly square, and that's what I was just toying about with earlier. So let's jump into Unreal Ed. And before we get in, and this is what they talk about in the tutorial. Look, back in the day, I had a whole folder of stuff. I printed tutorials out that I found online. Some of them were helpful, some of them weren't. And I was just sort of building this portfolio and schematics of stuff that I wanted to design. But those videos, I'm a very visual learner. I like to be shown what to do and then try it alongside. And then once you sort of exhaust what you've learned in the early lessons and you want to add more to your level, so you start looking at the other bits. And it's quite amazing because some of the stuff that they didn't show me in that level was straight away come back as, at least I need to know how to do this because that's what I would have done. So I just sort of figured stuff out for myself from there, just briefly, just today. But so first and foremost, what I wanted to say there, after I did Duke build, I then started doing some actual 3D stuff at work. So I was a multimedia developer by that point, and heavily supported by my friend and my boss Jim, and he got hold of Infinity. And I started playing about with Infinity. So we were mainly doing 3D stuff, obviously to then put in video production stuff. So I messed about with Infinity, and then I did 3D Studio Max. I love 3D Studio Max, and again, the company supported me by sending me on a week-long one-on-one training to get into how to use 3D Studio Max, which was great because it even stepped me into using bone structures and stuff like that. Why am I telling you this? Well, because with all that in my head at that point, it wasn't until I moved to Australia that I eventually really got stuck into Unreal Ed, because I got hold of this, obviously 2003, 2004. The way most 3D packages work is you are in empty infinite space and you add to that space. And it was really frustrating trying to get started in Unreal Ed until one of the tutorials, which is on that disc, in fact they mention it in that very one that I just fired up then, pointed out that the way Unreal Ed works, and thinking back now, you could argue that Duke Build works the same. But what you start off with, so what we're looking at here is not infinite empty space, it's an infinite solid. Okay? And to start building anything, you first have to extract. You have to give yourself a space to work in. So you don't sculpt in a 3D modeling package. You build a block, you add another block, you change the vertices, and you start to construct something within that empty space. That's how it works. If you want a floor, you have to create it. If you want a ceiling, you have to create it. And what they've done here, and again, really, when you think about it, Build works exactly the same, is it's the opposite, but it's the smarter way to work when you're building a game level. Because most of the time you're dealing with rooms, internal stuff. So rather than forcing you to build a floor and build a ceiling and build walls, you carve out of that space, and so you've instantly got a ceiling, a floor and walls. So let's have a look at how it works. So to build something, I click you basically work with what they call brushes. Is that where I expand them? Actor scaling. I was looking for that earlier when I was messing about. Okay, that's going to come in handy, hopefully. So anyway, so I'm going to build a cube. Now, even though it's cube, that's basically, a four, well, it's not four, is it? It's six-sided, but you know what I mean. A volume based on four sides. And so if I could just click that, but if I right click on it, then I get into the properties and I can actually set the parameters of what I like. So I'm actually going to change this to be a bit bigger. So 512 by 512 by 512, and then I click build. And that hasn't built anything. All that's given me is what they refer to as a brush. So I have to select that brush in one of the viewports here. And then I'm just holding down control, and this isn't because I've remembered it, but this is because that tutorial helped me today. If I hold down control and then left drag, then I can move that around. And I'm purposely, in fact, I won't move it to where my player is. That's what that arrow is. I'm going to put it in front of me so you can get an idea of what you end up seeing. And then I have to carve it out of the space. So all I'm doing is I'm moving my tool in around in the 3D space. You won't see it down here until I click here, and that's where it actually refreshes what's in that viewport. So that's how that works. And you'll notice it's below me, but that really doesn't matter, because there is, it doesn't matter where it is at this point in time, because we'll end up putting ourselves in it. If I hold down both mouse buttons, then I can pan up and down, stuff like that. So left mouse button, move forward and back. And again, it's because of the tutorial that I know how to do this. And right mouse button, look up and down, look left and right. Okay, so that's that there. So to actually carve it out, and I'm just going to come away from it a bit so you'll see how this looks. To carve it out, I come over here and I click subtract. And again, it's not a tutorial. Look up those tutorials because they're really good. But let's just have a look at building this room. So what I would do is, so it's subtracted it out. It looks a bit odd because we're outside it. Once we go inside it and then start panning around, well, now it makes more sense. We're inside a room. Scale's a bit hard to get used to until we start adding some stuff. But yeah, there we go. We're inside a room. It's the ugliest room you've ever seen. So now we need to apply textures. So that works a bit different to how it worked in Duke. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift and B, again from the tutorial. Oh no, I'm going to click on a wall, that will select the wall, but if I then click Shift and B, it will select everything. Now this is where it gets a bit easier, because if I click on up here, this texture browser, that's where it takes me into the textures, and I'm just going to load Humanoid Tech is the one they load in the tutorial. I was messing about with another one earlier, but Humanoid Tech is a good one. Was it Humanoid Architecture or Humanoid Hardware? Let's go Humanoid Architecture. There, click open. Okay, and so now what you've got is you can actually choose to filter. So that let's just look at floors. In fact, I'll look at walls actually, and then we can choose a wall that we want. Don't really care, to be honest. How about that one? All right, and it's going to apply it. Simple as that. Now, I'm sure there are ways. It sort of scales it quite well anyway. I missed the point a bit there. To be honest, I can't remember how you sort of move the textures around and stuff like that, but I'm not going to get into that now. I'm not going to waste video time doing that. What I am going to do is now have a look at, well, what do we want for the ceiling? So we'll go, and what I do know is that they're kind of scaled so that they make sense with the dimensions of the textures anyway. So let's go ceilings, and we'll go for, what else we got? Yeah. That'll do. Okay, so that seems to have set itself quite nicely, and we'll find a floor. Interesting. We'll go with that. Okay, so here we go. So there's a room. So if I wanted to build something else inside that room, what I could do, I could be a bit cunning here. I could actually pre-select a texture. Not while I've currently selected something. Okay, so I'm going to click there to unselect that. Right, I'm going to pre-select a texture. Where was that texture? Let's make it a bit different. So we'll make it this sort of metallic green stuff. Okay, then what I could do is I could come up here and I could create another brush and just make it a really small one. 1632. Let's go 32. We'll go. It's all to do with grids and power of 2 and stuff. So I'm going to click build. So I've got myself a little square there. Okay. And at the moment it's the same. Oh no, it's not the same height. I could make this a column, couldn't I? Let's do that. So I'll give it, just to make things easy, I'm going to give it the same height as the room. Build that. There we go. And you can see in this side view or the front, and you've got the side, it's the same height now. And this time if I click add, then it's added it into the middle. So it's all about adding and subtracting from your room geometry, okay, which is quite nice. And let's do some other funky stuff. So similar to the other room I did in Duke Build, I'm just going to do a corridor of this room and then corridors around the back. So very simply, you can sort of imagine how this is going to go. I'm going to give it a height of 256. I'm going to give it a width of 256, I think. I'll see how this comes out. And I'm going to give it a breadth of 1024. Okay, and hit build. Okay, so that's that. Select it in the top viewport, hold down control, and I'm just going to plonk it here. And you can give a bit of overlap because it will actually when we subtract, you'll see what happens. There's some other tools, quite cool tools, like intersect here will actually intersect it so that you basically end up with the bit that is the difference between the two objects. Oh, that's intersect, that's de-intersect. So let's just see what intersect. Yeah, so that just gives you that bit. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Let's rebuild that. Okay, and so it must be this one. intersect. There we go. So it's snapped it to just the bit we want, and that's how I can make sure it's right on that line. You can imagine that as I got into this is when I started, as I got into 3D work, that's when I really started to experience migraine. So I'm being a bit careful today. A, because I tend to, there's the clock, hold my breath and concentrate. But B, just looking at these grids does my head in. Seriously, I love this kind of stuff, but you can see how, man, especially as we get higher and higher resolutions, I hope I don't end up with a migraine tomorrow after this. So I'm gonna take my time and not spend too long doing this, okay? I felt the same thing. You probably saw my eyes doing this as I was doing the Duke build ones as well. Similar sort of phenomena. Right, a couple of things I have to do. Look at this. It's in the middle of space at the front there, so I really have to make sure that's at the floor. If I click there and then drag that down. Oh, why isn't it dragging down? Oh, left click. Sorry, my bad. So I just want to drag that now. I'm just going to drag it in a little bit, just so I can make sure it's in the right place. Okay, and then again, because this is subtracting, it's going out into empty space. So, no, I made this mistake before. That's not moving it in the right place. That's not moving it in the right place at all. I don't want it there. It's here. I have to move it. There we go. Okay, right. I'm happy with that. Subtract. Now we've got a corridor going down. I forgot to change my texture again. Damn it. So let's just quickly do that. I'll do the building, then I'll do the textures. Okay, and then I'm going to use the same one again, same corridor again. So up here I can, oh no, it's control, sorry, and right click allows me to rotate. Left click, I'll move it. There. Okay, and I will subtract that. Oh, do you know what? That's a bit too long, isn't it? That's way too long. So I'm going to change that to 512 maybe. Build. Rotate that. That's better. Subtract that. So notice how, unlike, it's not quite as smart because with Duke build, once I started creating a theme and a room texture, when you subtracted, it kind of took on the feel of the last texture that you used. Whereas this is selecting the last texture that I used, but because it's different with how it approaches the ceiling, it's doing everything with the one texture, rather than, well, it was ceiling and this for the ceiling, this for the floor, this for the walls, and continuing that. You sort of have a bit of work to do here. So, did I subtract that? No, not yet. So actually, what I'm going to do is I will quickly do this, otherwise it's going to make a rock for my back. Floors. So that was my floor. Oh, bloody hell. Come on. Floor. Then we'll go ceilings. That doesn't really fit in there, does it? There we go. Different size textures for different size areas. And then we'll do the walls. Walls, and let's see what smaller walls have we got. Have we got smaller walls? Not really. Oh, it's great, so kind of funky. Oh, what about these with the sort of stuff? But they're too high. There's got to be a way of scaling them up and down. They're quite nice. There's got to be a way of scaling them up and down, but I can't remember what it is, and I'm not going to use up the time working it out. Okay. That'll do, and that's the last texture we had selected, so that should be the one that carries on the theme. Right. In theory, I'd be able to copy an area. Again, not going to get into it. I want to show you kind of the difference between in how the texturing and stuff works and stuff like that. So I'm going to go back to having a room of 1024. Right, there we go. Build and damn it. Why did I do that? Sorry. I'd forgot I hadn't done 256 there. Then we'll do 512 there. Build that. I forgot I hadn't yet subtracted it. See how you get called out? I haven't actually created that space. Subtract that. There we go. I've got a space. Okay. Now I want to do another one of, I'm going to go back to 256 there and 1024 here. Okay. And I'm going to move that. Oh, don't want to rotate it. You can see how rotating it is better than the sloping and stuff, because then you could... Do you remember how when I did a sloped area, just to show you how to do it in Duke Build, I showed you how you could slope the floor, but then said it was important to remember to slope the ceiling as well. Where here, if I've got a corridor object brush, I could just rotate it on that plane and then subtract it, and it's automatically going to do both. So that's a cool way of working. Right, that's that, and I'm going to subtract that there. So in theory, if I go around here now, yeah, sure enough. Okay, I haven't really quite lined stuff up, but that's fine. Right, let's quickly select some stuff. So does that select all the way up? No, it doesn't. That's annoying. So that's fine. Select that there. That's those two areas there. Let's apply the textures. Ceilings, please. No, it wasn't that one. It was that one. Yeah, good. So that's those done. And now we will look at the floor. Okay, and select that. So I'm holding Control to select multiple, obviously. Floors. And same floor as before. Okay. Good. And let's just do something a bit different at the end of the corridor there. Just for the sake of it. Walls. And what are we going to have at the end there? Something a bit... what's some of the smaller ones? Nothing interesting there. That's the same one as we're using. Well, it's too big. It's too big. It's too big. There was one small one. Whatever. Okay, just something different down the end of the corridor there. Now, okay, so that's that. That's sort of basic modeling and moving stuff around and setting our textures up. Do you remember what I said about lighting? So in Duke, it's, and I still haven't figured this out to be honest because I haven't played with it since I did that video, of whether it's the ceiling or the floor that you actually set the lighting with, the brightness of a sector. That's not how it works in here. Can I even build the lighting here? Possibly. So what happens, rather than rendering lighting in real time, and even Duke Build doesn't render lighting in real time either, apart from changing the brightness or darkness of a character model or a character sprite, depending on what sector they're stepping into. It doesn't generate lights and shadows and stuff like this, and neither does the Unreal Engine at this point either. So what it does is it kind of fakes lighting by rebuilding the textures based on the lighting that you've applied to a room. Okay, I don't want to build it now because I've got a horrible feeling that if I do that now, what it's going to do is it's actually going to just destroy, it's going to make everything dark. It might not, because it might just be giving everything 100% ambient lighting. But what I can do is, why am I rambling on like that? Don't know. If I'm going to, I can right click, let's say up in this corner, okay? Actually, I don't want to do it in that corner. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Do it. Come on. I'm going to do it here. Just about there. Okay, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go add light here. And let's just check that that's at least a little bit away from the wall. Yes, it is. Good. Okay, add light here. Now watch what happens. Remember in Duke Build I had to set subsectors even if they weren't for modeling, but so that I could fake some lighting effects. Do you remember that? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build the light and watch what happens. So click this one here. And it actually goes, okay, that's where your light source is. Obviously, I could change the properties of that light, change the brightness and all of that, or the type of light that it is even, but I'm not going to go into all that now. And you can see that it's actually rebaked the room, and look, so it looks like it's casting a real-time shadow onto that, but it's not. What it's doing is it's basically rebaking the textures so that it looks like it's casting a shadow in real time, but actually it then speeds up the game processing because all it's done is change the texture of this wall to include a dark grey stripe. So it's actually a really clever way of working. And look at our corridor now. Our corridor is pretty much unusable because we can't see a damn thing because we're all the way down there. So whereabouts am I? Here. Okay, I'm there. I'm going to move forward a bit more here. Where am I? Ah. Oh, don't tell me I've come out of the... It's quite easy to accidentally find yourself out of your room. All right, there's my room. Okay. All right, there's my room. Okay, there's the room. There's the room. There's the corridor. Okay, there's the corridor. Let's just go down here a bit. And I'm just going to add another light because I need one. I don't know. There, maybe? Add a light. Okay, good. Oh, I like how that... I didn't realise it would do that in real time, to be honest. And I'm going to keep... oh no, it hasn't done it in real time. If I now rebake the lights... There we go. So that bit there is still dark, but we've got some light coming around the corner there at least. So you can see, very similar. See that sort of thing coming across off the thing here, off the floor here. So very nice. So remember when I did that little window, and I don't know how to, because of the level I did before was a very simplified level. I haven't played with doing glass effects and stuff like this. But what I want to do is just give a quick window through into that other corridor. Okay, so bear with me while I do that. So I'm just going to create another cube thing here. I'm just going to make it. If that's the right way. No, that wants to be 46. I'm just going to make this that. Okay. And I'm going to right. Is that long enough? Yeah, that's long enough. Oh no, it's this room. Sorry, it's this room. Right, okay, and what height is that? That's there. Okay, so it's a little window. There's a little window going through there. That's fine. Just making sure it lines up. So where are we here? Oh, yeah, good. See, it's a bit of a trick because the viewports don't update until you click into each viewport. So I'm just making sure it's sort of roughly where I want it to be, and especially in this viewport, to be honest. Okay, so it's going to be there. Could probably do with being a bit bigger, really. Let's make it, I don't know. I'm just going to go for round numbers now, by the way. Let's try that. Oh, sorry, wrong one. And 256. Build that. That's still long enough. That's fine. Okay, good. That's a bit bigger. I just want to make sure enough light gets through. Okay, so that's there. Right, let's subtract that. We don't have to do the, you know, this one, the de-intersect or intersect. We can just do subtract and it kind of does the same thing anyway. There we go. And so it's going through into that dark corridor. If I now hit, so let's have a look at this from, let's go down here. So remember all the work I had to do with the sectors and everything before to sort of fake this effect? If I just hit build lighting now, there you go, you can see the lighting coming through. And quite rightly, let's just think about how the lighting's going. Because the light is halfway up that wall, it's sort of casting downwards. So actually what I could do is I could grab that and let's just, in this one here, just move that down there. Okay, and then let's have a look at here. So that's moved that down, down more, because I want it in line with that. So let's move it down and across so that it's in line with that. Weird place to have a light, but I'm just trying to sort of demonstrate an effect here. Okay, so now if I now go through that corridor there, darkness in the corridor, it's already trying to mimic it a bit. If I hit build lights, there we go, look at that. Look at that. So yes, I've got a dark corridor that probably needs fixing a bit, but you can see how it's doing all the work for you based on where you place your lights, which is quite nice. But in all honesty, that's too dark. So I'm just going to add another light. Now, another thing I'm not happy with here, let's just add one there. Stuff it. Bake the lights. There we go. That's a bit more pleasant. You still got that effect down that corridor, you know. And look, Unreal, especially the original Unreal, so did some wonderful effects with lights and switching them on and off in different areas and stuff like that. What I'm not really happy with here is there's no reason for the light. You know, when you're playing the game, you're not going to see that. Quite fortunately, you're not going to see that light bulb effect. So really you need to add a reason for that light existing. So let's just get into adding a few other things. One thing is there's no player start position. So this is not a playable map. So I'm just going to right click here and add player start. He's facing the wall. I don't care. Okay, so that's that. The other thing is I want a reason for this light to exist. So you've got what are called meshes. So these are 3D objects brought in from other packages. I never worked out how to get one of my own models in from 3D Studio Max into the game. Frustrated me. One day I'll figure it out. But anyway, so you could build your own in other packages, and they're called meshes. And so here we've got prefabs, we've got static mesh. So I'm just going to load static mesh. And this is how you add weapons bases and stuff like that into the level as well. But I won't get into that today because we're already, well, 33 minutes. This might be it's only going to be a quick video. So we want meshes, static meshes. I'm just going to load, I think it was this that I found some. It's quite hard to find stuff that you want. Again, these work with the same sort of thing. So you've got lights. They're not actually lights. They are potential light sources. Okay, we've got a globe light. Not particularly nice. Oh, the tube lights are all right, but we're not really using a tube type light. It's the wrong kind of light. We've got those. That might work. Yeah, bugger it. I'm not being that picky because it's going to take forever. Let's pick. Let's pick that. All right. So now that I've selected that, all I have to do is right click there, and then there we go. There's the very thing that I've got selected in that sub window, and it should place it there. It's actually placed it behind the wall, as I can see in this viewport here. So that's interesting. So let's just move it out. And there it is. Okay, just make sure it's not in the way of the light itself, and that's the other trap you get into. So now I need to find that light. I do have trouble selecting the different objects. Okay, we'll move you out of the way. We'll grab you. All right, we'll move you out. We'll grab you again, and we'll move you back to there. There we go. Okay, so now there's a reason for the light to exist. Then you get into other things that, to be honest, this is what I never got very good at. But you can make the mesh have a glow effect, because again, in the game that doesn't look like a light. It looks like an object that should be a light, but it looks like it's off. So you have to do some other jiggery pokery. Can't remember how you do it, but that's another design thing that I would bother to do. So there you go. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to do the other lights because you get the point. Because of the kind of map that I did, the laser tag arena, I didn't really get into doing doors and stuff like that, because I didn't need them for that. So there we go. There we go. It's a bit brighter down there, and you still get that glow of extra light from that window. There. So there we go. Most important thing is obviously file, save, and I'm just going to call this testing. Okay, and then what you can do is you hit this play map, and so long as you've added a player start area, it should here we go. Hit start.
Play.
Oh, love that voice. And there you go. And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying, oh, is that big enough to climb through? No. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that the sound effects come from the textures that you choose, like it's smart that way. There we go. There's that bit of light around in the corridor there. And then it sort of increases the brightness depending on what you're doing. But you'll notice this is where you can tell how the textures are kind of baked. So here's that baked in shadow. It's moved again now. But the whole thing just goes to full brightness really. It doesn't really change. So it's quite clever. See what I mean about the light there? Yes, there's a light source there, and it makes sense that the light is coming from that area. But the light itself doesn't look like it's on. So there's another thing you have to do under the properties, and you basically change the material properties of that object, and that's how you do that. But anyway, that's that. That is that. That is Unreal Tournament map build. In a nutshell, very simply. Give me 2 seconds. And it will just be 2 seconds. Because this one I can't do next. You know me, I'm usually organised. But I just suddenly realised I need to tell you what I'll be doing next. So what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to do a bit of a comparison. I had said I didn't want to get into hardware stuff, but you know what? It's my channel. I do whatever I like. Am I going to do this next week, or am I going to do... I am now, because I've said I'm going to do it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do a comparison between... This is the laptop that I'm going to be decommissioning, which has served me very, very well. And this is the one that arrived this week, which I got at a bargain price, and it has blown me away to the point that it may even be better than the desktop I'm using. So it'll be a kind of a comparison between these two, and why I'm decommissioning this, and why I decided to buy this one. It wasn't the one I actually wanted, but also I'll compare it to the desktop I'm using to do this channel. And yeah, we'll talk about how it's sort of a better spec than I thought it should be. Okay, that's it. Thank you.